Hi guys, just a quick welcome. Welcome to today's In-Depth with Inventor iLogic webinar. My name's Ian Cross. I'm the product manager for data management here at Cadgroup Australia. And I just want to start by saying a big thank you for everyone who's took the time out of their busy schedules to come along and watch my webinar. So it is greatly appreciated that you have took the time out of your schedules to come along and watch this. So just a big thank you from everyone here at Cadgroup. So today's webinar is in depth with iLogic. So I want to start, I did do a introduction to iLogic course maybe 12 to 18 months ago. It is on, if you guys want to go and visit it after today's course, it is still on our Cadgroup YouTube site. The link is up on the screen. You can Google Introduction to iLogic. It is one of the first hits that comes up. Or if you just go into YouTube and browse to Cadgroup Australia, it is in our playlist there. The video is quite distinguishable. It's the one with the big gold tank. There is a little image of it on the screen there so you guys can see. So it is, if you want to go back and have a look at the introduction one from last year, it is still there on YouTube. So today is going in more in depth with the advanced features of iLogic. So accessing into Inventors API to automate some processes. So to start off with, I'm going to be going through some of the more advanced API functions in iLogic about how to access the API through Inventors iLogic interface. So I'll have a bit of a chat about some of the functions that you've got to put into iLogic to access the API. Once we've gone through that, I'll have a bit of a chat about what I'm going to be showing you today. So the next three topics up on the screen about how to automate your drawing process, updating your drawing styles, and accessing the print functions. They're the codes that I will be writing today. So I'll have a bit about a chat about them in just a sec. So the advanced API functions of Inventor. So the three that I really wanted to talk about, excuse me, the first one is this application. So when you're in iLogic, when you punch in the word this application together, you'll see it sort of turn a purpley color. And using this application object, it allows you to directly access Inventors API. So from this application dot, and then you start writing some more code, you're directly jumping into Inventors API. So from this application, I will use that quite a few times in the code that I'm writing today. So you'll see me use it quite often. But you're directly accessing Inventors API straight from this application. It's the same as when you're in sort of your Visual Basic or your Visual Studio programming. When you're bringing the imports for Inventor and you use Inventor dot, that's when you start writing with it. So it's the Inventor dot bit. The this document, this gets the document which the current rule is stored. So if you're in a part document and you do this document, you start getting the part API information. It's if you're familiar with the Visual Basic programming, it's when you type in inventor.document and then you start writing away. It's the inventor.document object. Once we jump into Inventor, I will go into the VBA editor and show you an example of one of the ways to access that. Also, if you want a bit more help with the Inventors programming and the API side of things, there is a programming help under the additional resources and Inventors help menu. So if you want a bit more information about exactly what's going on, you can find that there. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit of an example of this document just after I've explained model document. So model document, when you're in the drawing environment and you've placed a part or an assembly into a drawing file, this model document allows you to access the actual model from the drawing environment. So if you placed a part in, you do this model document, it will bring through the part that you've actually placed in. So if you make a modification, it'll modify that particular part or assembly. If you've got both in, so if you've got a part model in and an assembly model in, it's whichever you placed in first. If there's nothing in, it'll just return a nothing. Generally, it's the base view, so whatever you place the base view down as, because generally that's the first generally that's the first view you place in a model document. So going back to this document, just an example of that. So let's say, for instance, I'm in a part file and I want to write a bit of iLogic code to save that part file. I would use the this document, okay, and then I would do the save as after the document, okay, to access the save as function inside the current part document or assembly document, whichever you're in. Okay, there is a little bit of a brackets after the save as to specify the file extension and whether you want it to be a save copy or just a save as. But when we jump into Inventor, I'll go into the VBA editor and I'll show you the .save as element of the .document feature, and I'll show you how you find out that information. Okay, so what am I going to be doing today? So I'm going to start off with by jumping into a drawing file, and from the drawing file I'm going to write a bit of iLogic code to update the active dimension style. Now I am aware that you can just go into the styles editor and modify the dimension style. Now, you know, that's a common thing that needs to be done, but I'm going to go through and change the text type, the font height. But if you've got to do that every time you want to change the font height, you've got to go to the styles editor, find the active style that you're using, go to the object defaults, find the active style, then go to the dimension style and update it. When you can just do a one-click button from an iLogic rule, it saves you a bit of time. Once we've gone through updating the dimension styles, I'm going to do a quick PDF routine. So again, I know you can print from PDF. It's a pretty straightforward routine to do. But again, if it can just be a one-button, one-click instance straight from the iLogic browser, then that'll again save you a bit of time. And the reason I'm doing this, iLogic isn't all about making Inventor do things that it can't do. It's more about automating processes to make your life a little bit easier, to save you time. If you're saving time, you're saving money. Okay, so the quicker you can get jobs out, the quicker you can start a new job and take in more jobs. Once we've done with playing around with the drawing file, so we'll do update the dimension style, do a quick PDF routine. We're then going to jump into the the part file, and then directly from the part file, I'm going to automate creating a drawing file. So I have a part file already created. I'm then going to start a brand new iLogic routine, and I'm going to create a drawing file, automatically create the drawing file from the iLogic routine, place a base view, a top view, an ISO view, section the base view, and then also bring the dimensions through from the base view. So that's what my plan, again, just automating that process. If you have a whole heap of standard parts, it could be flanges or beams or plates or elbows, T's, whatever that you guys model up in Inventor. If every so often the shop floor come to you and say, I need a quick drawing of the plate, and you're constantly just going, okay, base view, top view, side view, section, dimensions, go, here you go. If you can just make that a one-click action, then again, that's saving you a whole heap of time. So you just place that into your files, click go, you've got a drawing sheet automatically done for you. Okay, saving you a hell of a lot of time. So again, as I was thanking you guys before for taking time out of your busy schedule, I will jump straight into iLogic time. Okay, so let me just jump straight across into Inventor. Here is my Inventor drawing file. So the first thing I said that I was going to do, I was going to take you into the VBA editor and show you that save as thing under the document, or this document save as, and the options you can have with it. So up on my tools tab, I've got my VBA editor. Inside my VBA editor, I've got all my classes here of what can be done inside Inventor. Now you can get an object model tree from the Autodesk website, which kind of lays it out in a big graph, if you like, which you can put on your wall. But you can also come here, you can search. So there's my document. Okay, so you can see it goes member of Inventor, so it's the Inventor.document. And into here, here's all the elements of the Inventor.document. There's that save as one that I was talking about. So it'll be Inventor.document or this document .save as, and then you've got the file name as string, and then you've got the save copy as Boolean. So Boolean, true or false. If it's set to true, it will perform a save copy as. If it's set to false, it'll just be a save as. Okay, so that's what I was talking about before, how you're directly accessing the document API to modify things within this particular document. Okay, let's just close that down. Right, so the first thing I need to do is I need to start a new rule. So I've got my iLogic browser open. For those who aren't familiar with exactly where it is, it's here on my Manage tab. So I'm going to come in here and say Add Rule. And let's call this Change Font Height. Change font height. Okay, so then I click OK. So from within here, I need to write my code to change my font height. Now, just like any programming that you do, I would always recommend putting comments in. So to put a comment in iLogic, it's just the apostrophe. So it's just a little bit of text to put in there to remind yourself exactly what you were doing at the time and what the next bit of code means. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get reference to the active document. Okay. It helps if I can spell. There we go. Reference to the active document. Okay, so first thing I need to do is pull through a reference to this document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say dim odoc as drawing document. So what I'm doing is I'm specifying a placeholder, a variable. That's what the dim odoc is, and I'm specifying that to be a drawing document. Now, the drawing, when I call it a drawing document, that isn't me just randomly pulling a name out of my head. The drawing document is an Inventor object. So when I specify the next line to say that the drawing document is this active document, it tells Inventor to pull the drawing document API. So I'm going to say odoc equals this application. You'll see that it goes sort of a purpley color. Active document. Okay, so that's the first thing that I've done. I now want to get the active dimension style from the document. Okay, so I'm going to pull the active the dimension style from the document. So again, I need to create that little variable. So I'm going to create an dim style as dimension style. Again, the dimension style is an Inventor object. I'm not just calling it a dimension style because it's a dimension style to be, to give it some sort of relevant name. It is actually the object that I want it to be. So then I'm going to say dim style equals, I'm calling upon that odoc. Okay, so I'm specifying the dimension style to be the active dimension style of this particular document. So I'm going to say odoc dot styles manager. So I'm accessing the styles manager, and then I'm the active standard style from the active object defaults. Okay, and I want the linear dimension style. Okay, so I now have in that little variable dim style, I have the linear dimension style, which is great. Next thing I need to do is I need to get the font size, because that's what I want to change. So I need to get the font size from this dim style here. So again, I'm just going to comment out and say get the font size. So I'm going to create a dim font size as, I'm just going to make this a string, which a string is just a piece of text. Font size equals dim style. So I'm getting a reference to the dimension style that I just created before. Okay. Font size dot text style dot font size. Okay. Now, if you wanted to know how to find that, you would just do that by going through the Inventor VBA editor and finding out exactly where the font size lived. So now I have a reference to the font size. Okay, so it's now stored in my little database I've got. Now, what I want now is I want to give the user a dialog box to punch in the new font size that they want. So I'm going to say, get the user to type in the new font size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an input box. So in input. Now, input's just the variable that I'm going to assign the value to. So when they punch in into the input box a particular measurement, 5 mil, 10 mil, 100 mil, whatever they want it to be, it will put itself into that input name. So I'm going to create an input box. You'll see that it goes purple because it's a recognized iLogic command. And I'm going to say, so I want a bit of text in here just to tell the user what to do. But first of all, I'm going to display the active style. So in the dialog box there, I'm going to display the style. So I'm going to say active dimension style equals. Okay, close brackets. So the brackets is just a bit of text. I'm then going to say and I'm going to display the dimension style name. So dim style, which is this guy up here, which we referenced before, dot name. Okay, so that means I will display his name. Okay, and so I want something else. VBLF and VBLF. Okay, so VBLF, for those who aren't too familiar with it, is just it's a Visual Basic line feed. It's just basically pressing enter. So I'm going down to the next line on my dialog box. So I've pressed enter twice. I'm then going to display another bit of text that just says, please enter new text height in millimeters. Okay, and then finally, just the title of the dialog box. We'll just put Cadgroup iLogic. Okay, so just as I've got up here, edit rule, change font height, that's just what that is there. It's just a bit of text for the font height, the name of the dialog box. So press enter. So the user's inputted the value that they want to be the text height. I now need to use that text height and push it out to my font size. So I'm going to say the dim style dot text style dot font size, okay, equals input. So that input that's in there. Now I'm going to divide this by 10 because when the user puts in the value of 5 or 10 or whatever he wants the text height to be, I want it to be divided by 10 because it's going to be like 5 centimeters or 10 centimeters. I need it to be 0.5, as in 5 mil. So okay, so take user value and divide by 10. Okay, and that's pretty much all I need for this little bit of code. Hopefully I haven't made too many spelling mistakes. We shall see once I click OK. Okay, so I click OK. Great. So it comes up with the dialog box that says, the Cadgroup iLogic. That's just a bit of code that I, the text that I punched into that box. Active dimension style equals. Then I managed to bring that was the dim style.name. And then I press enter and enter again. So that was the VBLF. And then please enter the new text height in millimeters. So if I knock this down to say 2.5 and press enter, you'll see that the text height automatically updates. Okay, I know it's a very, very straightforward thing to happen, just changing the text height. But every time you've got to go up to manage, go into the styles editor, go into the active dimension style, modify the text, come back out. It doesn't quite look right. You've got to go back in again and change it all over again. Okay, you can just click run rule, click 3, and it's changed. Okay, very, very simple little thing to do. Right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to output this to a PDF. Like, it's a very, very, again, simple thing to do, but it also can save you a little bit of time to do it. Because if you've got to go through and specify the options every time you want to do it, and you've got to remember to put in the revision name every time you're doing it. So I'm going to create a new rule, and I'm going to call it PDF out. Okay. So again, I'm back into my dialog box. Now I need to do a few different things this time. First thing that I want to do is I want to get there's no real reason why I'm doing it in this particular order. This is just the way that I'm doing it. I'm going to get the path of where my document is saved, because I'm going to save my PDF in the same place that my drawing file is. Okay, so I'm going to create a variable called opath and make it this document dot path. Okay, so I'm just getting the path of where my drawing file is saved. Okay, get drawing file path. Again, I should always comment things out. Next thing I want to do is get the file name of the drawing, okay, without the extension. Because I'm going to call my PDF the exact same thing as my drawing file, so I need the file name. So I'm going to create a variable called oFileName and make it this doc.filename. Now to bring it through without the file extension, I just simply say false. Okay, so that gives me the file name without the file extension. Now the next thing I'm going to do is when I save this file as a PDF, I'm going to put the revision number in, like I said before. Okay, so I need to create a reference to the revision number. Okay, so I'm going to go orevnum equals. Now this is just part of the basic iLogic stuff. I did this in the first one that I did, the first webinar that I did. iProperties.value, and it's a project value, and it was the revision number. Okay, so I'm getting the project value of the revision number. Okay, so it'll pull through the revision number. Let me just make that a capital P. Okay, get the revision number. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Next thing I need to do is I need to get a hold of the PDF add-in that's inside Inventor. Okay, so I'm going to create a reference to the PDF add-in. Okay, so in here I'm going to say opdf add-in equals this application add-ins item by ID. Now I need to call upon this by its ID number. Now I'm going to copy and paste this in because the ID number is quite long and I don't want to make any spelling mistakes. So let me just copy and paste that guy in there. So that's the ID number for the PDF add-in. Now there's a couple of ways to find out the PDF add-in ID or any of the translator IDs. You can write a bit of code to pull it out, or on the Autodesk forums and the Autodesk blog site, some of the Inventor developer guys have got their own blogs where they've posted the codes themselves. Okay, so there's plenty of places out there on the web that you can pull these ID numbers from. So I've got reference to the PDF add-in. I now need to get reference to the options of the PDF add-in because I want to specify that it's not I don't want it to be grayscale. I don't want to remove the line weights. I want vector resolution. I want to print all the sheets. I need to get reference to the data medium because I need to give it a file name. So there's a whole heap of things I need to do. So the next set of stuff I'm going to bring through now. Again, I'm going to copy and paste this in. I'm saving on spelling mistakes. That's all. So getting the reference document. So I'm first of all going to get reference to this active document because I'm going to use this document as to print, and then I'm getting the options and the context type and the data medium. So the data medium is just what you're going to call it essentially. And now I'm going to specify the options. So because I created reference to the options in the o.options, okay, I am going to come in here and place in my options. Okay, again, I know I'm cutting and pasting this in. I'm just saving on spelling mistakes. So options value, all color is black, set to 1. I don't want to set it to be all black. I don't want to remove the line weights, vector resolution, and I want to print all sheets. Okay, so that's my option set. Now, this next bit doesn't really apply to my code, but it may apply to the code that you guys may write if you do this. When you specify the path, if you've specified a path to be such as C:\PDF files, let's say, if that folder output doesn't exist, it's going to throw up an error to say it doesn't exist. So what you can do is in here you can specify that if it doesn't exist, you can create it. So I'm going to say if not system.io.directory, okay, .exists, okay, path. So what's basically I've said there, if this path doesn't exist, then I want to create it. So I'm going to say system.io. So this is a standard Windows code. So windows.directory.create. directory opath. Okay, and if. So, but yeah, basically all I've said there is if the path doesn't exist, then please create it. Okay, so then it won't come up with an error to say, you don't exist, and it'll just pass on. Okay, so next thing I need to do is I need to set the name of the PDF. Now I know I've specified the file name here, but I haven't told the PDF document to take that file name. Okay, so I'm going to set the PDF file name. Okay, so the O data medium, which is the valid thing we put up here, this data medium dot file name, okay, equals, and this is where I'm going to specify the file name. So the file name is going to start with the path details, so opath. Then I'm going to have a backslash. Okay. Then I'm going to put in the file name, so O file name. Okay. Now I then want the revision, the revision number, but I'm going to put the word rev in first. Now notice I put a space in there because I want a space between my file name and when it says revision. Okay, so I'm just putting the word revision in, then and then I'm going to put the O rev num in there, and then finally the .pdf. Okay, so I've set the file name to be the path, so that's where it's going to save it. Backslash the file name, space the revision number, .pdf. Okay, now the final thing I need to do is I need to press print. Okay, so again, I'm just going to copy in this last bit just to save a little bit of time. I've got published document, so OPDF add-in was what we specified here. Okay, save copy as, using that particular document, these particular options, that particular name, and we're ready to go. Now, just at the end, I'm just going to put a message box .show, just to say, it has been saved and where you've saved it to. So I'm just going to say PDF has been saved to location below. Okay, and then I'm going to say and VBLF. So I'm just going to do a couple of enters, and then O path, comma, and then just the name of the dialog box, and that is it. Okay, so that should now output my PDF. Now I'm just going to get my window already up. Okay, so I've already got one there, so let's delete it out. Okay, so that's where it's going to go. That's where my file is there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click OK. PDF has been saved to location below. C workspace, iLogic webinar car wheel. If I jump back to here, there it is there. BMW wheel iLogic rev A. If I open that up, there it is there. Okay, so it picked up the revision number, it picked up the file name, it picked up the location, and every time you make a change and you modify the revision number, all you've got to do, so if I come into here and modify the revision number from say A to B, okay, right click, run the rule, done. Come into here, I now have a rev B. Just a simple flick of the button and you've got an automatic PDF output with the correct revision number in the file name. And again, you can specify that to go wherever you want just by setting that opath to be wherever you want. You could also, if you wanted to, you could have one of those input dialog boxes that I had in the last bit of code, so the user could actually do an input box of where he wants to save it. Okay, because it might differ depending on where you want it to go. So that's just the two little drawing bits that I've talked about just now. So hopefully that's giving you a little bit of an insight into how to, using the this doc.document, this doc.path, I've used this application, about how to access into Inventors iLogic and pull out some of the relevant information to do what you want to do and automate the processes you want to automate. So the next thing I'm going to do now is automate the drawing process. Okay, so I'm just going to jump over to my part file here. So this is my part file. So it's already modeled up. It's looking quite fine if I do say so myself. I'm very proud of my wheel. I did model it up. So I now want to automate the drawing process. I want to spit a drawing out of this quite quickly. Now, I am aware that you've got to spend a little bit of time writing the code. So there is that time period. But from once you've finished the code, that's it done. The code's written and it's saved. So you only need a one-button click from there on after that has been saved. Okay. So I'm going to create a new rule, and I'm going to call it DWG create. Okay. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is, for those who are a little bit familiar with Visual Basic, I've already used an import command. Okay. So I'm going to cut and paste these two guys in, then I'm going to explain a little bit about them. Okay. So I'm going to import these two guys in. So the import is a Visual Basic command, and then what it's doing is importing an alias name and a namespace. What it allows me to do is directly access these namespaces, so the view orientation of a drawing and the drawing view styles, without having to type in a whole heap of code just to get into the drawing style or the view orientation. So that's all that it does. It allows me to directly access those namespaces without the whole heap of code that you need to write. Okay, first thing, the next thing that I'm going to do is I need to create some variables. Okay, because I'm going to need to access a drawing document, a part document, a sheet, and a base view. Okay, so I'm just going to cut and paste these guys in. Okay, so I've dim a drawing doc as a drawing document. Just make them up. So dim drawing document as drawing document, part document as part document, sheet as a sheet, base view as a drawing view. Now I need to access the sheet because when I place the drawing view on the sheet, I need to access the sheet's API, such as I need to place a base view on the sheet. I need to get dimensions on a sheet, so I need to access those. So the first thing I'm going to do is show a dialog box asking the user, are they sure they want to do this? Are they sure they want to do this? Okay, so it's just going to, a little bit of a dialog box is going to pop up to say, you know, this is going to create a base view, drawing view, section view. Are you sure? Because they might have just run it not knowing really what it was. So create a variable called DWG create, which prompts up a message box to say, would you like to create a drawing for your awesome wheel? Enter, as I showed you guys before. This will create a base, a top, an ISO view, and then it will section the base view. Yes or no button, and that's just the title of the dialog box. Okay, so if the user says yes, I then want it to do something. Okay, so basically if DWG create equals BB yes, then I want it to do something. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get reference to the op part doc equals this doc dot document. Okay, because I want, before the drawing view is created, I need to get reference to this document. Okay, so I don't, because if I open up the drawing view first and do a this doc dot document, it's referencing the document, the drawing document. Right, so the next thing I need to do is go and grab the Inventor template and start a brand new drawing. Okay, so again, I'm just going to cut this code in just to save a little bit of time. There we go. So go and grab the drawing file and template and open. So O drawing doc, which is what I specified here. This application, which will be the Inventor, documents, and add. I'm adding a drawing document. Go and get the template files. Okay, the drawing document, activate it, and then get reference to sheet 1 on that drawing document. Okay, so I've got reference to the part file here, and then I've went and got the drawing file and I've activated it. So I've started a new template, a new drawing file. Okay, I'm going to start going through creating a base view. Now in Inventor, using iLogic, when you want to place a base view down, okay, you need to place it at a particular point. Okay, so I need to create a reference point to relate to the base view, and it is a X and Y value. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to paste in the code there. So 0.1, so that's going to be the storage of the point details. Okay, so this application, transient geometry is just a word for geometry. It's a point. Transient geometry could be sketch geometry, could be a point in space, XY value, it could be a dimension. It's all transient geometry. So a 2D point at the X and Y value. Okay, and then going to place the base view at point 1. Okay, and again I'm just going to paste this in and then I will talk you through what it is. Okay, so O base view, which is what I specified here to be a drawing view. So I've accessed the sheet, which I specified here, sheet 1, drawing views of the sheet, and I've clicked add base view. I want a base view of the part document, which before we specified to be the document, the active document, which is the car wheel. I want to place it at point 1, specify the scale, the view orientation, and is it hidden lines? And I said, nope, yes, sorry, I do want hidden lines. Okay, and that's it. That's placing a base view. It's that simple. So you get a point, and then you whack the base view straight down on that point. Now, once I've done that, I'm now going to place down a top view and an ISO view, doing pretty much the exact same procedure. Okay, so let me just come down. So this bit here is placing the top view and the ISO view. So again, just like I did before when I dimmed an O base view, I've went top view as a drawing view. Okay, created a point 2, which is where I want to place my top view. So exact same process, but just above. So same X value, but different Y value. And then top view, OC, drawings view, add a projected view, not a base view. Using the base view, so add a projected view from the base view at point 2, and it just says use the base from the and use the style from the base. The ISO view, a little bit different. So, well, I still got to specify a point. Okay, so it's the same Y value, but further along on the X value. So ISO view on the sheet, add a projected view of the base view, 0.3, and use the drawing shaded style. So it's not taking the style from the base, it's taking the style straight from, well, because as we all know, ISO views can't take the style from the base. Okay, let me just bring this down a few lines so we can create some space. So the next thing I'm going to do is a section view. Now to create a section view, I need to draw a section line. Okay, so I need to get a hold of the base view, draw the section line, and then create a section view from that section line. So the first thing I need to do is I need to draw the section line. Okay, so again, it's not as difficult as people may think it is. Okay, so that's just all the code you need to create a section line. So I create a variable for the section sketch. Okay, base view sketches add. Okay, draw the section line. So I create a variable for the line. So that's a variable for the sketch. That's a variable for the line. So I've created the sketch. I've added the sketch. I've edited the sketch. I then create 2 points of where I want the line to be. So same X value but different Y values. Okay, so it's going to be an up and down sketch, a vertical sketch line. So O section line, sketch lines, add by 2 points. There's point 1. There's point 2. So it's drew the sketch line, and then it's exited the sketch. Okay, and that's the sketch line drawn. Okay, I then need to draw the base view. Okay, sorry, not draw the base view, draw the section view. Now, just as we did before with the ISO view and the top view and the base view, it's dim section view as a slightly different name. You're specifying this as a section drawing view at point 3, so the transient geometry, specifying my X and Y values. So O section view on the sheet, drawing views, add a section view, using the base view, using the section sketch. Again, you can find all this information by going into the VBA editor, using sketch point 3, shaded view style, scale of 1 to 6. True is yes, I want to display the label, and the label is A. Okay, and then the final thing to do is retrieve the dimensions. So I've done my base view, I've done my top view, my ISO view, my section view. I'm now going to, I'm now going to retrieve my dimensions. Okay, so I want a dialog box. Okay, so I'm going to say DWG retrieve equals, bring up a message box just like we did before, and say, would you like to bring through the dimensions? Okay, and then I'm going to do that VBLF. Okay, so enter, and then I'm just going to make a point that say, this will retrieve the dims from the base view. Please ensure your dimensions are tidy, because as we all know, when we do a retrieve dimensions, it brings through all of the dimensions in that view and it places them down in the exact same position you placed them on the sketch. So if your sketch was a bit untidy and you've just whacked down your dimensions anywhere that you can, it'll bring them through anywhere that you can. Now, in all honesty, mine will come through pretty messy. It does bring through a lot of dimensions. So yeah, it's then down to me to pick and choose which dimensions I do and I don't want to keep. So I'm just finishing this off. So I'm going to say I want a yes and no, maybe yes and no button, and I want the title just to be iLogic webinar. Okay, and close that up. Okay, so if DWG retrieve equals VB yes, then actually just to make sure I'm doing this correct, I don't want any errors to pop up. There we go. If DWG VB equals yes, I then want to go get my dimensions. Okay, so I'll take this one out. Oh, sheet. So on the sheet, I'm going to go to drawing dimensions. Okay, I'm going to go to general dimensions and I'm going to retrieve. Okay, and I'm going to retrieve them from O base view. Okay, got a couple of end ifs in there because I'm ending if that if statement and I'm ending if this statement up here as well. So just to recap on what we did there, we first of all, a dialog box, when we run this script, a dialog box will pop up to say, would you like to create a drawing for your awesome wheel? This will create the base view, the side view, the top view, and the section. If they click yes, then it will go start up a new document, activate the document, get reference to the sheet. It will then do a base view, a top view, an ISO view. It'll draw a section line, create a section view from that section line. It'll then give me a dialog box to say, would you like to bring the dimensions through? Please make sure your dimensions are tidy. Once I click yes, it will bring through my dimensions. I just see a mistake there. It will bring through my dimensions and then we'll all be done. It's then down to me to pick and choose which ones I want to keep and which ones I don't want to keep. Okay, so I click OK, hopefully no mistakes, that's all good. Would you like to create a drawing for your awesome wheel? Yes, this will create a base, top, ISO view, then a section view. I click yep, it jumps into my drawing view, creates me my drawing, so it's a brand new drawing. You see it's added in a new drawing, and there's my base view, my top view, my ISO view. You can see that one's brought the style from the base, hidden lines and everything. That one's using a shaded style, that one's using a shaded style. It's drew my section line, so 30 up, 30 down. It says, would you like to bring the dimensions through? I click yes. It then brings through my dimensions through. Okay. Now, as I mentioned before, they will come through messy. That's just because I hadn't spent the time creating these exactly where I want them to be. But it's now just down to the engineer or who's responsible to organize the dimensions exactly where they want and keep the ones they want to keep. Okay. Let's pull these out just to make it. There we go. So that is my part iLogic code. So I'll just quickly jump them back into there. Again, I've used that this doc.document. I've used that this application. So hopefully you can see that, you know, just with a little bit of visual basic knowledge and how to access the API, you can make Inventor automate things which some of these may only take an extra 5 minutes of your time, but those 5 minutes over, you know, a week, a month, a year could save you a fair bit of time. And then if you want to take it from iLogic into sort of the Visual Studio environment and start automating these things to do multiple drawings all in one go, then that's possible as well. Now, that pretty much wraps up my CAD webinar for today. Again, a big thank you for everyone for coming along and watching me show you guys some of the API capabilities of Inventor. If you do have any questions, please jump onto the Cadgroup website or send me an email. You know, there is a contact us on the Cadgroup website, or send me an email. I'm more than happy to give you any of the code that I've got here. Again, just drop us an email. If you want, you know, us to come in and have a look at what you're doing and see if we can write any custom code for you, again, we're happy to talk to you about that. But again, a big thank you for everyone for coming in today. It's been a pleasure, and thank you. Goodbye.